Good morning. I decided to do this. I was going to just post this and let you read it. But today, as many of you know, that 6 days a week on St. Paul's United Methodist Church's Facebook page, I do a live stream. What really technically is a podcast on Facebook. Probably needs to be a podcast rather than St. Paul's United Methodist Church's Facebook page, but that's where it is. It's a way to get people started during COVID, to get people connected to the church, to get inspired or laughing or whatever. And it's morphed into an incredible experience that includes in the kitchen on Friday, where you've seen the pictures. I cook on Friday in the kitchen and share recipes. We've done over like 200 recipes now. It's like a lot of food we've cooked and shared with all of you. And it's like allows me to discover and play in the kitchen and sort of come up with different recipes. And then Saturdays, we've been doing the Saturday morning funnies where people send jokes, and it started with this kid sending me pirate jokes. And now I've got somebody to be unnamed sending me Louis talking to Mario on the phone jokes. Go figure. But today, as I did my PD in the morning, maybe changing the name of it soon to On the Porch, which I think is sort of more fitting for a podcast. But today is National Poetry Day, National Read a Poem Day, or something like that. And as I was sharing it, I grabbed a bunch of books, and I've got a little history of poetry. I've got these are just the ones still here. I got poetry books everywhere. Systems Thinking with Flowers, a really great book of poetry by Crystal Langwell. This is just really great book of poetry. Have my first unofficial, so unofficial that offers meaning my poems in print. Poetry is Imaging 2025, just a few poems that I've put together. And so as I thought about how E.E. Cummings is where my inspiration for poetry started back when I was not sure junior high school. I'm pretty sure it was high school. In my high school, there was a small little library study hall in the science wing of Williamsville South High School, and I spent a lot of time there. A lot of my friends spent more time up in the main library with Edna Larson. It's like they have stories to tell. I don't have stories to tell over who oversaw us back in the day. But it was there that I read a lot of things. I read the works of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and I discovered E.E. Cummings. So today on this National Poetry Reading Day, as soon as I got off, it's like, all right, I got a poem for E.E. Cummings, and I was just going to post it, and I will post it. But I'm going to share two. This one comes from the cover of the book. It's called My Writer's Game. So this is a poem that back in the day, Jim Tamaro and I would walk down our street to Milton, make a right down Milton to Cayuga, make a left to Cayuga, cut through a parking lot, go to the Williamsville Public Library. And Jim and I would just gather books. And we would read in the library, we'd get books out and take them and go in the backyard, and we would read. And so this first poem is in a way dedicated to both of these are dedicated to my youth. Sort of the formation. Kids these days get locked into the internet, to their handheld devices, to their tablets, and they don't have the books. Some do, but some are more like into whether it's Pokemon or whatever game they're playing, and they miss the turning of pages. And I fear for the future with that. So from my so unofficial that it offers meaning, my poems in print book, my writer's game. 'Twas Freddie the Pig, Louisa May Alcott, a sonnet from the bard, more words that I sought. Walked to find Hawthorne amidst all those classics, a stroll to the village where pages were turned. Ivanhoe bravely stepped from the pages I opened, meetings with Tennyson, days for which I yearn. Cooper and Dickens, special words that inspired, treasures with Stevenson, their words I admire. And that's me. That's me writing something back in the day. And then the poem for today, and that's the reason I popped on. E.E. Cummings. I don't have any of his poetry in front of me right now. My E.E. Cummings books are on different shelves that are around. But what got me about E.E. Cummings as a high school kid, first of all, he didn't use capital letters. That probably was like the coolest thing. And it's like, all right, E.E. Cummings is not using capital letters. So that means I don't have to conform to everything. And then the syntax, you'll hear through the use of grammar, the use of words, there's breaks in sentences, there's punctuation that blew my mind because it went against everything that I was being taught. But here was this poet, a guy who served as a medic in World War I, and out of his World War I experience, he wrote a great novel, and then he started to write poetry and novels, and just wrote so much amazing things. But it was sitting in that library, in that small space in the science wing at Williamsville South High School, that I gained a love of poetry. And off and on through my life, I've scribbled poems as a teenage boy, little love poems. And then for years, I wouldn't write anything. And then all of a sudden, like a poem. And now I'm finding poetry is a great relief, even if it's just for me. But this is for all of you and for me on this National Poetry Reading Day. This is from this morning. E.E. Cummings Matter. 2 little letters from the list, vowels they call them from the mist. They look so small on the paper, but never once did they taper. Just the beginning of a name, Edward Estlin, not meant for fame. Only a few might know his face. What he wrote down won't be erased. Just a boy, I noticed his words. Juggled syntax flew high like birds. Line after line, eyes open wide. Poetry washed in like the tide. Have no idea which was first. All that mattered was that deep thirst. His ideas starting so small, written for some, gifted for all. He wrote, strangers meet, life begins. Poems in life are just like twins. One can ask if I had not read where in life I may have been led. In a bright corner of my school, E.E. Cummings was very cool. He'll never know the change he made. Love for poems never will fade. Ta-da! There is my poem for all of you on National Poetry Day. Find a book of poems. There's plenty. If you find that this is really a cool book that I just found a little while ago, A Little History of Poetry. I got it discounted because it was sitting like that at Barnes & Noble. But this is really cool. This is by John Carey. He's a professor at University of Oxford. I haven't read any of his other works. He's got 100 poets, a little lost anthology. But this is like really cool about the history of poetry. It has a lot of poems in it. Highly recommend it. Anyhow, that's it. I got to get back to work. But that's my poem for the day. E.E. Cummings mattered. It really did matter to me. Created a love of poetry because he didn't capitalize his letters and his words were like whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Very cool. Have a great day.